For school today, I got to school right around 9:30 a.m. and I did not eat breakfast today, sadly, so I was pretty hungry. So we got to Spanish class, and Spanish class, I finished up Spanish Imperfect Tense assignment very quickly. The environment here was again mostly chill, kind of like a restaurant. Think of a place like Norms. But before class, I cleared my name from the absentee list, and my teacher told in Spanish and Lenia, which kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't actually expecting to speak Spanish early on. But I did get what she was saying, thankfully, and it was pretty quick. I did clear and talk to her about for a rally. She was pretty confused on whether we're going to be on first or second, so just told us to go to second period to finish it out. As for the rally, we had a school rally today, and to this literal message here that I'm saying is that I took all the risk and I went to a completely random group of whom I did not know at all, except one boy who was in my English class. The rally was surprising. I saw some of my old friends there, and it went in this order. So basically, as I was going in, it was pretty chill. I saw a lot of my old friends, a lot of the ones, and there were a bunch of other ASB members of whom I also know, but not too many of them. So and I first hung out with Rayon's group, who was all the way up on the top, but I decided to go back to a random group that's all the way on the other side. This was all in the gym, so it's all a lot of kind of like a concert in some sort, but inside a school gym. So first thing we had were salsa dances that were regarding the prom rally today. There was another dance that went on after where people were doing the same dances. And very simple. It's very similar to breakdancing, but it follows more of a cultural rhythm, so to speak. The next dance was similar to breakdancing, where a bunch of boys were backflipping, and they did a really cool dance. I'm not sure what it's called. Not like the salsa ones, but it's very cool, visually cool to see. The next dance was another random edit of the main prom leaders for tomorrow, I believe. It was basically more prom hype and which people look like main characters, I guess. It was pretty funny, but it was also pretty cool at the same time because I wish I could edit like that to make some cool edits. And it was a lot of heavy stuff on the gym's projectors also. I don't think the top place could see it because there was a lot of banners that blocked that projector's way in the gym. But the next thing was another dance that was very similar to breakdancing, but with more loud and unedited funky music that is impossible to unhear at a regular volume. Next dance, again, was more of a cultural salsa style, but dancers this time. The boys joined in first. They did something very similar to breakdancing and like repeating that. And then after when they left on stage, the girls next came in and they did the dances that were a little bit questionable. I'd say not exactly obscene, but just questionable. But it was pretty cool. Times clothing that does not technically violate any rules, but it was kind of like the I don't care music. I love it. I'm not sure which one that was called, but the dancing was very much fast, and I don't think I knew what the style was. Anyways, the dances, as I said, mostly appropriate, but I think the music and lighting was extreme. A lot of vulgar music, I'd say. I'm so much as to argue is that if any mom from those families were to go from the to the rally right now, if every single like family was going to that rally, I think that there would be a lot of moms, a lot of dads who would be extremely mad at like, why is my daughter seeing this? Why is my daughter dancing like this in a bunch of front of strangers? Interesting thing, cultural clashes. Anyways, the next dancers were people from the Spanish Honor Society doing again a lot of salsa cultural types of dances. I don't know which type it was, but they were also dancing to a bunch of vulgar, funny music, of which I don't remember. More funk edits again. The next dance again was kind of more with a loose dancing this time. It's very simple moves. People in shark inflatable costumes, and the environment was absolutely loud here. Visual lighting everywhere. ASB, of course. I also saw the principal walking around like the Russian secret police, trying to see if anyone's using what do you call that, vapes or something, whatever they're looking for. The next dance was also a little bit more questionable this time. These dances are pretty good, as I say. A lot of good choreography. I'm definitely giving it for all of those. But the students were kind of twerking for the first part of this dance. But I think this one was also another cultural dance. It had its unique moves that I again can't seem to remember, but it was made over a bunch of bit of questionable loud music. And next dance was also one with prom kings. This one was somewhat similar to breakdancing, but I couldn't quite cut it when it came to breakdancing. It used very simple, recognizable dance moves, and I definitely liked that dance in specific. And final, well, not even the final dance, but another dance was another loose group of prom kings and queens, more simple dance moves, but I still don't remember because I can't memorize that. But for the group that I randomly joined this time, unfortunately, I was not able to hold a full conversation with them. I was unable to get their Instagram and or media, and since I was able to not hold a full conversation with them, two of the four people there said no to me, but was it worth the try still? In my opinion, yes, I still tried to make friends. It's still worth it. Anyways, the final dance, which I don't even think is a final dance, is that they had people in white clothes, in white colored robes, along with different colors, and involved an old couple that danced around them. That means there's a main dancers are directly in the middle of the stage, but then there's already other dancers on the side that are making other dances at that same time. Recognizable dance moves this time, but they're edited over loud, vulgar, edit music similar to funk stuff. Some of the boys in the background, I believe this was ASB. This one was really funny. They tried to repeat one of the dances like in a humorous way in front of their own boyfriends, and it was pretty funny. I saw them in the background as they were watching the show. Anyways, one of the dancers at the end, I believe this one was between me and Cheer. Yeah, I think. I believe it was all about backflipping and over a bunch of funk and loud edited music. There was a lot of cheer stuff that was going on, but I don't remember the exact dance moves. But since there's a lot of people within this last dance, it was a little bit more simpler. Next thing we got is shoutout announcements for Given Sports. I believe that this was another ASB member that was also doing this. Shoutouts for Given Sports from volleyball, I don't remember, but it's a lot of shoutouts I'm not gonna remember. Plenty of ASB members, plenty of coordinators, the teachers too, plenty of leaders, plenty of cheerleaders, and a lot of friends from my other classes were also present. And a lot of the people who I've also talked to before were also present. I attempted to hold down a conversation with the group that I was with, but sadly, as I said, too loud, and unfortunately, I had to stop talking to them as they left. The rally ended late, and a new announcement toward ASB that one of the women teachers said is that next cheer rally starts around 11:10 a.m. for the next class, so it's gonna be a little bit later. And I went to an old friend group of mine before I eventually left for the door for PE class. I felt guilt because I really could have switched from going to this friend group during the rally to another one. Like there was this other person that was wearing like the headphones that I'm wearing right now. I could have maybe talked to them, but they might have been too silent. I was not able to make a new friend today, sadly, but and I just went somewhere else. But it's okay because it shows the limitations that not everyone is available, and some cliques closed off, so you might not. It's kind of like a wham wham right there, whammy. But anyway, so credits goes all the way to a lot of my old friends that I've been with at least since the beginning of this year, and those that I'm still friends with today from ASB. I don't have too many friends there, but all the credits goes to them and members from that old six girlfriend group that I was with at least like a year, almost a year ago, I guess. Now, after that crazy stuff, I think the rally was pretty good in my opinion, guys. I definitely like the dances because it's a lot of cultural stuff. The edits too kind of went a little bit far. It's a little bit boastful, but it's all for the hype. I might attend prom next year, but I don't know who I'm gonna bring with me for a prom date. So if anyone wants to be my prom date next year, please send me a text. Just make sure you can be here next year, I guess. Anyways, for physical PE here, we did roll call right around this point, and we went mostly quick. There was this one person who told me that I should not be wearing my shirt. Like I wore this shirt to PE today. They told me that I should reverse this shirt because there can't be any markings. But when I went to roll call, the teacher didn't. It was mostly free time today, and I don't think he wanted to mark anyone because I'll just make more administrative work to mark someone out of suit. Anyways, after this point, I ended up enjoying a quick run and a quick walk with one of my friend groups, Rayon and his other friends. We decided to run at that point for this one lap, and then I actually made it there pretty early, even though I am probably one of the slowest runners out of all of them. But eventually, I got down to the ball stage where there's available. There's like volleyballs and basketballs. I took one of the volleyballs and the basketballs, and I played a little bit shortly. And after this daily lap, I also eventually played a little bit with the girl that was nearby. She wanted to play basketball with me, but I told her I couldn't play for too long. But eventually, everybody lost interest in basketball, then we just gave it to someone else. It was fun though. We did miss and give a few shots. Later on, I eventually played basketball, yes, with Isaiah. But later on, I eventually played volleyball with Marissa's group and went mostly chill, not much to note here. For science, we finished another base assignment for the climatogram assignment, and I think this was before that, really. I finished up this assignment during Spanish right at the end, only one part of it. But later on, second rally, due to it being late, a lot of people were about 10 minutes late to class, so the teacher didn't start science class for at least 10 minutes. And kind of like a shock wave here, because if a rally is like 10 minutes late, so we're supposed to leave at 10:52 instead of 11:02, then that means for all the other classes, we'd end up being a little more late, I guess. Teacher has a sick, raspy voice today, so he explained the chromatogram assignment very similarly and very simply. And I got confused on what city to choose because my teacher said the biggest city in our climate zone. And does he mean the climate zone that's in the project, or is it the climate zone that we're currently living in right now, which is LA? Or is it where we're physically living? That's the thing that I got confused with, but eventually the teacher cleared it out and made it clear. And I usually used AI for Gemini to do the stuff for me and put it into spreadsheets as the teacher requested and then do some other modifications. We corrected and modified it after. The teacher helped us. He made us use a combo graph, but I didn't get the last step that he was asking for it to help clear it out. And he questioned whether, since my city, South Lake Tahoe, which I'm studying for, Sierra Nevada, has irregular weather. So he said it looks terrible, but I think it's just like how the weather works in South Lake Tahoe because it's pretty irregular compared to other cities. And the instructions that I got right as I went to leave science class, right at the end, was and clear instructions were use ChatGPT or Gemini to find the general rainfall averages compared to the temperatures in Celsius. Put it in a simple table, then copy it down to Google Sheets using Gemini. After you copy your chart, go to insert chart and set it as a combo graph. Then go to customize series and then change the temperature. And when in the series scale, invert that temperature instead. And after choosing it, put done. And make sure it is a line graph, not a column graph when you scroll down on the series. And for those last few minutes, I was scrambling to write down instructions on how to find the city because I already lost plenty of time. And I thought I was doing LA, but I was actually doing South Lake Tahoe for my project. And I don't want to get confused later, so eventually I just copied it down, but almost got to history class pretty late this time. History class, we had notes 29, but we had to write it off of the Chromebook, sadly. And 10 people, 8 to 10 people out of this class had to present for it. And the kid beside me said that he doesn't mind. Some like it, some don't. And some love it also. But like the draft, the teacher made us write down the papers on a clipboard to see which topic that would choose. So there's like 4 people per each topic. So 4 times 9, that's like 36, or 4 times 10, that's like 8 to fit 40 people. And like the draft, he chose everyone to choose a topic. And he said that 10 out of 35 students will be randomly chosen. And such irony that I heard during this period is that no pressure is a very simple assignment, but we're literally being drafted to literally answer up in front of the class. Not everybody has that strength to like speak in front of a class. There's a lot of judgment that could be going on theoretically. Anyways, for the notes though that we had to write down, we learned about Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward, which both were pretty much disasters, and how nationalists escaped to Taiwan. And Controversial, Taiwan's position today is for the US and China. Now, he made all four people chosen in each group to all go up, and he chose one person out of those groups to just answer for all the questions. And the thing is that I know how to improvise since I do videos like these. So my thinking was this: the Cultural Revolution was a disaster because any impurity, such as not meeting quotas or thinking differently, would get you arrested. And I said directly when he was talking to me when we were presenting that in-person food rations were not being distributed properly. And then the presentation was very simple, and it ended. We just had to speak from word, and that's it. Later on, after class, I waved to an old friend as I walked toward lunch. They were pretty chill. Now, next thing that we did was that in the lunch in the library, in the cafeteria, there was that same girl sitting right by me who I wanted to talk to. She was there, but this time I decided to just play Uno in the library since my other two friends are not going to be there today. And in the library, the Uno game was pretty funny with my friends today. This one was with Rayon's group, so credits to you guys. They made some jokes, and it was funny because they were also made a bunch of funny faces at that same time. And what made it really more funny is that as they were making these jokes, which I sadly don't remember, is that the piano music was playing like sad, mellow piano music as they were laughing, and it made the irony even funnier, so they just kept on laughing. They also named it too that piano music was playing, so it's kind of like made at that point, so everyone just kept on laughing. I was the technical winner the first time when playing Uno, but we got too distracted laughing, so I just ended up playing Uno more and more times. The funny part is that later on, I got a plus 20 card, and then we kept on laughing after because I did not want to show it to them because they would end up laughing even more. It was very funny because if we were in some class, in the same class together, that we would not finish work, said one of them. And they could not stop laughing, especially after I presented that plus 20 card. It was really funny. And then I also felt sad at the same time because this Uno game was pretty fun. A lot of fun stuff, even though two players were not there, Rayon and the guy. But this is going to be memory as I'm running it right now. But at least we get to live it one last time. But we were probably the loudest in the library. And definitely Rayon kept on acting crazy. So anyways, now English class is also where it gets kind of crazy even again. That I was going to bet like 13 cents, as I said to her. But she said there's going to be no late students. But the thing is that later on, there were 5 late students. Like 7, I believe. I bet 13 cents. But she said later on about some other side notes is that she don't like gel because there's no lattes. The teacher said that sometimes her kids are crazy. Some are street mouses. And she says some are also street rats at the same time. And she says it's also her young daughter too, who's in college, one who's also a street mouse, unlike her other siblings who are more harder on other people. 7 were late today, as I said, but the teacher said funnily that again to those same late students is that she lost a 13 cents bet because that of them being late, and it was pretty funny. They were all having a laugh about it. She said for students that they can go and drop bags in the restroom and miss the first 10 seconds of class instead of like asking to use the restroom later. But she said no to Jackson since he seems like a suspicious boy, at least according to her, after he's been doing a bunch of funny stuff before class started. Anyways, the teacher said that we might do questions, but the thing is that she was pretty busy, so we were not going to do it. And I learned in Eli Weasel, we're going to be reading chapters 9 and 10, and how his father can no longer survive, and we assume that he was sent to a crematorium in the camp. And I learned how Weasel was warned beforehand in the apple plots that when they were called for roll call, at least a day before they were liberated, that they would be killed. And someone warned them that they shouldn't go there, so he went back, and eventually, days later, the resistance movement took over the camp, and eventually, they were liberated. And after that question is that free time, no questions assignment regarding today, but I did finish up another part of that science chromatogram assignment. But what was funny about the teacher is that she definitely says a bunch of her own siblings were kind of like street rats at the same time, but she says that she herself wasn't a street rat in a funny, humorous way. She does end up pointing to one of the sad facts that her brother did, do something similar to GTA, and let's say that he did not survive, just to soften it like that. And next thing we got for math class this time for the final time, I waved a girl that I talked to as I was moving toward math class. Her name was Ava, but sadly she didn't any immediate, but she seemed kind at that same time. But in math class, though, I just realized Davin returned from a week-long absence, and today we had a CASP testing today regarding CASP testing that we're going to have for next year in junior. So our teacher's kind of doing that as like a test for us, a pre-test before the test. And later on, we had to log into Aries.com, and we have to access it because we have to find out our state ID that we're going to be using next week for those same pre-tests. And I realized I also have to change the password for Aries, and I believe this also affects all accounts. So guys, check your Aries accounts. You might have to reset your passwords. You might be doing this like every, I believe, 2 years, I guess, or ask your parents at that same time. Later on, we had another FIAB quadratic review. Very easy stuff. We already learned this from last year, but though I still need time to remember the basic stuff about quadratics. B squared minus 4ac. Quadratic formula standard ax squared plus bx plus c. Learn how to factor quadratics, plug in quadratics, make data tables about quadratics, and take square roots. And one of the questions that I believe is I'm going to tell that later on was that I did make one video on how to solve quadratic formula, guys. So if you guys want to see that little historical video that I made for my friends Davin and Samuel, who could not quite understand them, at that point in history. Now, if you guys want to see it, I'll link it down in the description. But one of the questions during the review is that I'm so stupid because I thought the square root of 441 was 49, but it was actually 21. Because I think that like 9 times 9 is 81, so it's gotta be like 441, right? Because that first digit is number 1. But it was actually 21, as I always knew. But 49 squared is 2,401, which I got confused on. Next example was an example of 25x squared minus 4. I solved this by scoring it, which is not a traditional method. So I put 4 on the other side, I divided by 25, and then I got 0.16 on the other side. And then after I solved for x, I believe that our solutions were positive or negative 0.4 or positive negative 2 over 5. We had another fill in the blank unique question, which was x squared plus blank x plus 9. The question was asking, choose what number makes the equation have one solution, just one. And I used b squared minus 4ac for the options. A was 3, b was 6, c was 9, d was 10. Which one was it? I eventually chose 6 as the answer after passing A and then going to B, and then I got the answer correct. For most of the time, the class was silent. The teacher let us know about the Aries password stuff and that we needed for next week. And the options were after class were kind of just do nothing because we're already losing a lot of time. This is already a short period due to rally schedule this week. I then talked to the local senior girl post dismissal, and I haven't talked to in a long time, and I caught up on a little bit with her about things that have been going on. And then later on, I eventually cleared things up with her. We learned a little bit more about each other, and then eventually left. Then I talked to another sophomore girl who was in my English class last week who said the I cup meme, which was pretty funny back then. And it went fine most of the time. She was mostly chill, not much to note here. And eventually, I went home and I got Jack in the Box. And if you guys want to know what I got, Jack in the Box is that I got another diet because that's my favorite thing. And I also got one of them burritos, although it's way too high in fat. Our credits for this week are heading straight for Isaiah from PE, Ava, the random girl that I talked to, Marissa from my PE class, and that other and her group of 2 also from PE. That one girl who also wanted to play basketball with me in PE, credits to you, and that one other boy, and the 2 girls next to me in science class for also being very humorous. That includes you too, Silly, you're pretty funny too. The next ones go to my English teacher for being pretty humorous, making English feel like a community. Credit goes to Rayon and Levi in PE class and lunch. Next credits go to my friends in ASB, although I still don't have too many. And then the rest of the peripheral groups I've talked to before, credits to you guys. Next ones are my history group who I presented with. And then the next ones who I have are Devin and Samuel from 6th grade. You guys are very humorous, although they'll be questionable. Other ones go to Layla and Noelia. Next ones go to Luke. Not the Luke from elementary school, but the Luke as in the ESL learner from my school. Credits to him for acting like a South Park character with a lot of them cuss words because I know ESL link learners kind of be funny like this. And yes, Luke, I remember your name and I will definitely remember your name. Now, credits toward go to that one girl who was from my English class last year. Credits to you who I've talked to earlier. Credits go toward that senior girl who's also graduating this year. Now, credits also go to Jackson. Credits also go to that girl in my writing English class. Next credits go to Sophia, who knows that these videos exist. I know I've seen you once and twice. Now, this time, I wasn't able to finish this video earlier because my mic ended up dying. A credit this time goes toward the OG people who I've talked to since the beginning of this year. This one goes toward girl the library to the side. Unfortunately, the friend group that you guys were in eventually broke off, and I eventually had to move away just to visit other friend groups who I haven't known before. And sorry guys, I did have to leave on that. Now credits goes to another friend group that's a peripheral friend group of who I visited during finals before winter break. But it's to you guys. I don't know where you guys are at though. Now credit goes toward Giuseppe, one of the main subconscious leaders of the P friend group, and everyone else who was somewhat nearby or was like met me before. The almost unthanked person that I have here is another friend who's named Rui, the one who originally offered me after 4th period to sit in the cafeteria right in the early beginnings of this year. Long ago, I still had that fear of going into the cafeteria. Now, thanks to Rui's efforts in helping me secure a simple spot in the cafeteria, I'm not scared to go in the cafeteria anymore. Probably like sit alone. Without them, the second latter half of these videos and second latter amounts of people who I've talked to may have never ever interacted with me. I would have never met those other friends and broke other social fears. Good thing I broke that fear, so I'm not scared of the cafeteria anymore. The next thing that I might do is that for morning period, I might do the same thing this time, not in the cafeteria, but visit like a building where there's like a lot of people. Then maybe make a bunch of new friends and the fear that like no one is there to like judge me or something. It all shows that we're part of a bigger school community that will sadly not last after graduation, but it shows that nobody succeeds. They're always on given efforts. There's too many main characters, there's too many side characters, there's too many people who contribute one way to another to everybody's own little story. Another cool event that happened today is mostly an Easter egg mention here is that I went to a party with my mom in a small home that's far away, and it went quite interesting. We got there around 7 p.m., and for a bit of the time, people were just acquainted to each other, and I was drinking some of them diet sodas. I took about 10 minutes biking around with a moped that one of the workers allowed me to use. Mostly like a regular bike, although I did have like controlling issues with it. The workers, I didn't really care much about it, and later on, I went with my mom to the store a few minutes after to get food supplies for that given home since they were running out. Funny thing is that during a birthday saying, once we got home after that, I wished for the worker that apparently that the place would be more haunted as a result of their birthday, and they awkwardly laughed. Not the best response. But before I did go to the store, I did set up 2 cameras in case I catch any ghosts before I left, but I don't think I'm still gonna view the footage. It's a big thing about this home is that it was legendized that there was a person with dementia. They didn't die in a place that they knew they would die, so they didn't know that they died, so that they think they're living, and it goes to a legend that they still walk amongst the home today, and you might even hear some footsteps. Now, when I came back, I told my titas about the ghosts and shadows that I caught about a year ago in this care home, and they told me that I apparently have a third eye in the supernatural. Because I was paying enough attention to actually try to record and catch a ghost, they think that I have a third eye of some sort, a supernatural ability that I was able to have. And I don't know about that. They told me that I should be praying for whatever spirit there that I caught. If you guys do want to see that footage, do send me a DM because it was pretty interesting. What I did catch, I believe, is that I did catch a phantom-like arm that was jabbing, protruding from a door one time, and then I caught a black shadow from an outside camera, and that the inside cameras did not catch anybody inside or outside. So I found that also really interesting. The black shadow one was really difficult to see, but I knew something was moving there. But I found that one really interesting though. No, anyways, later on, they all celebrated birthdays and people had fun here. Some got beer, but I sadly did nothing. I was just waiting for the party to end. But I did ask one of the workers for Uno cards, but unfortunately, they didn't have any Uno cards, so I couldn't really play with the boys that were there.